Hey guys, how's it going? I am Danconia and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup. So here we are. 12 teams, 4 stages, 6 places, 1 grand final. The Philadelphia Fusion and the London Spitfire fend off the opponents and get to that grand final. And boy, did we see some Overwatch. Should we delve straight into it? Day 1 is an interesting one because this is the map all the ways, isn't it? Philadelphia Fusion kick us off on Dorado. Dorado is a bit of a clutch map for both teams at times. London Spitfire won the Stage 1 finals on Dorado. They also beat Valiant in a crucial map on Dorado. But Fusion are well known for clutching it out on the last point of Dorado. It's kind of a weird thing, but they don't tend to do that well on the first and second points of Dorado, but the third point they tend to clutch out from time to time. This one is very, very close, but Fusion do clutch it out. 3-2 to the Fusion on Dorado gives them a 1-0 lead in the first game. Then we go to Oasis. Now you look at the history of Oasis, and Fusion aren't that good on control, but they get better, they have a better league record than Spitfire do on Oasis, that's for sure. Because coming into these playoffs, Spitfire were 2-10 on Oasis. By far their worst map, and this is the sort of things that Spitfire needed to work out of their system if they were going to reach these finals, and they did do that. Could they take it on a step further and beat the Fusion? Yes, they could. And in some style. 2-0 to the London Spitfire on Oasis. And a little known fact, well, a little known fact, a well known fact now, Spitfire are unbeaten on Oasis in those finals. Because it wouldn't come up in the second match or the third. So, Spitfire, they went unbeaten on Oasis. Absolutely crazy from being your very, very worst map. And that's like, beyond all, it was their worst map in the pool. Absolute craziness from London Spitfire. And well done to them for working out those problems in their gameplay, because Control had always let them down, and they had worked it out, and it reaped them rewards. 1-1 at the break. We go to Iconwald. Iconwald was very, what I would call, stodgy for Fusion. They got the first point, but they didn't get it to the gates of the castle. And Fusion was starting to look at Spitfire and say, you are bringing out some plays here. What? We need to find something to go up against you, because you are really turning it on here. Spitfire win Iconwald 2-1, and all of a sudden things have flipped on its head. After being 1-0 down after the first map, Spitfire are 2-1 up after 3. We go to Volskaya. Volskaya was a relative unknown. Fusion played it against Boston and beat them. Spitfire hadn't played Volskaya because they'd rolled the teams they've been up against. So we've never had that need for a fourth map until now. Going in, Fusion on the attack first. They get first point, and the second point they get, I can't remember, it was 1 or 2 ticks on the second point. They don't complete the map though, which gives London Spitfire a win criteria. And when Spitfire have a win criteria and they can see what they need to do, it can be very hard to stop them at times. But Fusion try their best. And with 30 seconds left, I'm going to hand over to myself. Welcome to Volskaya Industries. This was the last map, obviously, in the first game, London versus Philadelphia Fusion in the Grand Finals. London have 30 seconds left or Fusion will take this to a 5th map. They needed clutch plays. Someone needed to come out and pull Spitfire through this. I'll let the commentators go because this goes crazy later on. Carpe picks off Prophet. This is extremely bad for London. They don't have exactly massive ults. Nuss has just popped Valkyrie. Fury does this. That is your clutch play from the London Spitfire. Fury has been playing out of his mind. And London will take this point and head to the 2nd point on Volskaya. With a good amount of time, right? But you look at London's ult percentage now. Fusion are going to hold on to Valkyrie. But Birdwing is going to have Infrasight. Bedosin is going to have Whole Hog. Gesture is going to have Bongo. Damage boost, whatever. Prophet will have Dragons. London came up clutch massively here to keep themselves within a chance of taking the whole series there. Now, we move on to the 2nd point of Volskaya. This is where it gets interesting. Now here are London with those 4 ults and the chance to snowball this. They have a better ult economy than Fusion do. Problem with Fusion is they have the Valkyrie. But Neptuno has to stay out of the sights of Birdwing. But it's not really Birdwing we're going to look at here. Birdwing picks off Neptuno massively. There's your Valkyrie gone. But it's not Birdwing who is the MVP here. Here comes that Dragon Strike. Here comes Prophet. Here comes Birdwing picking off Poco. Poco! I'll let Uber do it. Prophet almost clutched that on his own. On Hanzo. That pick from Birdwing was absolutely crucial. I didn't really register that when I watched it the first time, but that was absolutely crucial. Some switches come in here for London. Bedosin moves over to the Zenyatta. Birdwing goes to the Hanzo, switching with Prophet. Prophet comes out on a Brigitte.
So here's what you're going to do if you're London. You make some changes, you bring in that extra support with Prophet playing Brigitte. If you can get to the point and stay
this is not where it ends, by the way. It gets very close towards the end here. Prophet will make another switch in a minute. This is a difficult push for the London Spitfire. Their ult economy is like non-existent. This is a very... EQO gets the first pick on Fury's mech. At this point, with Fury gone, it becomes very difficult. So London will have to back off. Birdwing now has the Dragon Strike, as they just said. Prophet will go back to spawn. And I believe at this point, this is when Prophet will switch. I think Prophet switches to Tracer. The old stalwart of dive, Tracer. Prophet is an insane player, and he's about to prove this. Just watch. Bomb gets nothing. This is not the best angle for it though. Watch the kill feed. 2 men down from the Spitfire. Nuss and Bedosin are down. Fury's now down. This is the last push, basically, for London here, by the time they get back to the point. Something has to happen. Watch Prophet. He's off on a little flank. Prophet's looking for picks in the back line. He finds Neptuno. He finds Carpe. Then he takes Hopper. Then he takes Sado. And then he takes Poco. 5 picks at the end of that match for Prophet on his own. And London take the first series, the first match against the Philadelphia Fusion. That was something none of us have ever seen. That is something that defines a team for a whole season. That is an incredible play from Prophet. So there you have it. Spitfire take that 3-1 and a 1-0 lead in the series going into day 2. And the plays on that map in Volskaya were absolutely insane from both teams. Well worthy of the grand final. Well worthy of winning it. Prophet was absolutely insane. And to be quite honest, if I was a South Korean World Cup team and I had not picked Prophet to go with the South Korean World Cup team, I would be gutted right now. Yes, South Korea, I think you might have a bit of egg on your face. But hey, Prophet's giving you the finger. Let's move on then. Game 2, day 2. We have to put up with a PR this, shall we? Let's PR this. An interesting performance from DJ Khaled. But we finally get some Overwatch in the end. And hats off to the viewers. Overwatch exceeded the 300k mark. It was above Fortnite on Twitch. And that's just on Twitch. 300k, by the way. That's not including ESPN. That's not including Disney XD. That's not including the Overwatch League website. That's not including MLG. It's not including all those places. It could be 500,000, to be quite honest with you. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see if they do actually announce the full figures. But enough of that. Let's get into these the finals on day 2. Philadelphia Fusion come into this on the loss, obviously, and probably in a map after a map pool that they probably needed to win, because Philadelphia Fusion have to kick this match off on Junkertown. Junkertown is historically not a good map for Fusion, but historically Oasis isn't a good map for London Spitfire, and look how that's turned out in these finals. So hey, let's not look at the paper. But this one is close. Fusion don't finish the map though. Fusion don't finish the map. But they get it to the 3rd point. So Fusion get 2 points on the board, and they get it a fair way through the 3rd point. So they look good. It was a momentous hold on that 3rd point as well, because London it was a momentous attack, sorry, because London had a lot of things in their arsenal, but it didn't quite come together for London at times. But London come out on their attack, obviously. Fusion run the Bastion comp. London don't tend to do that. That's not the thing they do. They normally run Badosian on the Roadhog. And it's a slow start, but it proves fruitful. Neptuno gets picked off a lot. The hooks land onto Boombox, who is playing Roadhog, a lot. The halts from Gesture throughout this series were insanity. We were getting halt hook combos all the time. We were getting halts into Dragon Strikes. We were getting halts into Diva Bombs. Fury was getting 2Ks and 3Ks with his Diva Bombs. Most of the time because Gesture was halting people into it. On the 2nd point of Junkertown, which London do make it to, I remember that Gesture halts the Bastion. No, Fusion made it to, sorry. Gesture halts the Bastion, played by Boombox, and Neptuno, Mercy, into a Diva, and Fury gets a 2K and it stops Fusion, and it eats some time off the clock. It's so crucial, and honestly I think that I hit my wrist against my desk. I honestly think Gesture, on his own at the moment, is the best Orisa in the world. Simply because he can use those halts so effectively. He's not the best Reinhardt in the world. But he is, I think, best Orisa, and he's a very, very good Winston. Competing with Fisher for that top spot, but I think he is the best Orisa in the world. And it's something to behold that he can get these halts in such positions. And it's on the defense of the third point. Prophet has a Dragon Strike. He throws it to the top right room. You know where the attacker's spawn is. And Gesture halts them into it. And Prophet gets a 4k. So, some pretty extreme plays from Gesture. Pretty extreme plays. And he's got to be proud of his performance, I think. But, moving on. Spitfire do get the win on Junkertown. It's close. It's close. But Spitfire really do hit another gear on Junkertown. And if you're Fusion, you start to get worried. Because this is when it starts to get difficult. Because if London start getting into a groove, start building momentum, with the sorts of plays they were pulling off, they're nigh on unstoppable. We go to Lijiang Tower. And this is where it gets real interesting. Fusion are beaten on Lijiang, but they're not just beaten, they were pummeled. They were they were beaten quite heavily on Lijiang 2-0. London looked insane. Birdring popped off multiple times on Widowmaker, getting 2Ks and 3Ks here and there that just it pushed Spitfire through. That was probably a more dominant Lijiang than anyone would have ever expected in a Grand Finals. It was the most dominant map out of the series, I think. So, at the break, London Spitfire are up 2-0. Match point, series point, league point, you know. Anything you want to say. If they win the next map, then they get that trophy. They get the title of League Champions. But the next map is King's Row. King's Row, it may be home turf for London Spitfire, but it's not their best map. Actually, it's one of their worst. Yeah, it's historically a bad map for London Spitfire. Fusion take the first point. They get the first attack. And they do get it all the way, but it's very... They get the 3 points on King's Row, but it's done in overtime, and they find it very difficult. They get stalled out a heck of a lot. A heck of a lot they get stalled out. And it's difficult for Fusion. I think they'd lost a lot of confidence by then. And Spitfire they were working at another level. It was incredible how much Spitfire had changed the way they played and really stepped up during these finals. Spitfire come up for their attack, and after a difficult first point take, they kind of rolled them and get the 3 points. So with 3-3, problem is Fusion did it in overtime. London didn't. They had time remaining, so it's only London that gets the attack. Fusion don't get an attack round. So Fusion have to try and defend this out for a draw. And with about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes on the clock, that's always going to be hard against Spitfire. And they fight. Oh boy, Fusion fight. But with very little time remaining, Spitfire take the first tick on King's Row. They win King's Row, they win the match 3-0, they win the series 2-0, they win the Overwatch League. and become the first ever Overwatch League champions. And well deserved. Fusion didn't play really badly. That's one thing I will say. Fusion didn't play really, really badly. They weren't like, oh my god, you haven't turned up, or you're awful, blah, 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 blah. I don't think you can say that about the Fusion. I think London Spitfire played at a level we haven't seen any team play. I don't think the best that NYXL have produced this season would have stopped London Spitfire. Absolutely incredible. And I think a lot of it is down to the fact that, a little fact about London Spitfire, they started out with a full roster, right? They started out with 12, the GC Busan roster and the Kongdu Panthera roster. And they had these big plans of internal scrims and stuff like that. But it didn't work. And in stage 3 and 4 they slimmed the roster down to 7. That was the smallest roster in the league. Spitfire started with the biggest roster and finished with the smallest roster. And I think that's ultimately what worked in the London Spitfire's favour in the end. Being able to concentrate on those 7 players, because they had Nuss and Closer. The flex, you can different mercies and a bit of Lucio or whatever. Being able to concentrate on those players, I think really boosted the Spitfire. And with Birdwing back after his injury in stage 3, Birdwing, we saw it at the end of stage 4 that he started to hit his stride a bit, but Birdwing really hit his stride in these playoffs. And Prophet gets the MVP for the playoffs. Well deserved. I was weighing up between whether it should be Gesture or Prophet, because Gesture was insane during these playoffs as well, and he would have deserved it just as much as Prophet. But Prophet was game changing at the end on Volskaya. Absolutely game changing. He's been consistent all season, and he just took it to another level in these playoffs that we haven't seen from Prophet before. And I tell you what, if Spitfire could play like they did in the playoffs all season, they would have been top seed. Sorry, Excelsior, they would have. It was absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And take nothing away from the Fusion, I think Fusion have a promising season 2 ahead of them. Especially now that they're going into it, they're hitting the ground running in season 2, whereas in this season they missed the pre-season. They missed it because of visa issues and logistics issues. But now they can go into it knowing that they can beat these teams. And season 2 will have a different look to it anyway. That's going to be a discussion for another video anyway. Let's not do that. So, congratulations to London Spitfire, your Overwatch League Season 1 champions. Deserved among everything else. Fusion have nothing to be down about. You knocked out number 1 seed NYXL to get to this point. You cannot complain about that. You beat Boston Uprising on a map they have never been beaten on. Fusion should have their heads held high, but on the day, Spitfire were just something to behold. Something we hadn't seen in the league this season. In terms of clutch plays, and the synergy they were playing at was just another level compared to everyone else. And a little thing at the end here, watching the press conference with Philadelphia Fusion afterwards, EQO and Neptuno said, "It is so hard to handle Fury's diva. He's eaten everything. And Fury must be the best diva around right now. He is in the South Korean World Cup squad for a reason. Don't know why Prophet isn't, but hey, let's not question South Korea here. But let's leave it here for this one. This has just been about the Grand Finals match, and that I'm going to do another video. This will look at the league in general. Where can it improve? It's going to be really interesting. Let's do a whole review thing in another video, because otherwise this is going to go on for ages. So I will leave a link to that video in the description below. It will probably be up the same day as this one. Congratulations, London Spitfire. It's well deserved. It's a shame, and this is what I said afterwards. You can have the highs, the stage 1 champions, but you have the lows, and it's how you respond to the low times in a season, and it will define what team you are. The lows and how you respond to them will define who you are, and it has defined London Spitfire as champions. They bounced back from the lows, and now they're back at the highs. But boy, Season 2 is going to be interesting. I'll see you in the next one. Should be today. We'll do the season review, and we'll discuss what's next for the Overwatch League and what's next for Overwatch Esports, because there's a little matter of a World Cup between now and Season 2. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like to give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then!